Stream, test, stream. I hope this works. I think my desktop is off so I can see how I sound. Yeah, there we go. I'm in here, baby. Hello to Surprise Stream. All frickin' aboard. I'm your host, Pee Pee Poo Poo Man. And I'm here. Just because I just, you know what? Just felt like streaming time. Completely just out of pocket. This is not the update video that I said was going to come, by the way. This is I guess the preview of the update video. So exciting. Well, likely you're going to get spoiled on the updates. That's incredible, but also not really because it's only going to be one portion of it, but hey, whatever. Whatever works. Okay, what the heck was I even doing? I got all distracted and I was just like, yeah, let's just give this a shot. It's been a while. And now out of nowhere, now I got to remember what's going on here. I don't even know if my update bot actually is... I haven't... It's been literally 5 months. Oh my gosh. I'm not even sure if all the things are still working properly, but hey, whatever. I gotta set up some kind of schedule or something. All right. So, what were we testing? What were we figuring out? I do believe current issue is trying to make sure this lines up properly. Right. Okay. Yeah, so this was the thing that we came into, is specifically recognizing that these are now shifted upward, but that's not too big of a deal. Does this thing show me if anyone's in or not? No, it's whatever. Suppose there's no point in explaining what I'm doing until somebody shows up, if somebody shows up. Meanwhile, I gotta turn my music down so I can hear myself. Which, of course, is muted. I have to find, like, a royalty-free library or something, because I listen to too much music, but I don't think any of it can go on a stream, so it's just silence for the viewer. But maybe that doesn't matter anyway. I don't know how important the music experience is here. Ready. So we got the bounds going on here. This is actually pretty solid. I don't see any problems with the way this system's set up. It's actually pretty clean. With that in mind, though, the offset being 0, 0 should adjust for these. That's good. The other issue, to be honest, was there's quite a few, but element bar border is the next step. If we can cut these entirely. Wait, what? Warning: the stream's current bit rate is lower than recommended bit rate. Okay, sure. I didn't know that was a thing I could even adjust. Stream's current bitrate. I don't understand. You know what? Sure, let's figure this out. Why not? Edit. I had no clue I could control bitrate. Or is that something from OBS? Let's see. Warning: the stream's current bitrate is lower than recommended. Is that talking about audio bitrate, you're saying? Okay, so settings, output audio. Is that it? Whoa. Oh, can I not adjust anything here while it's streaming? That's fine. Okay, so I guess I'll just have to do this afterward. Yeah, reasonable. Interesting. I had no clue that was even a thing. I never paid attention. Righto. So, I believe we kind of solved all of our issues over here by the by. Now the next step is simply just adding in another offset here of some kind just to make sure that these things go down. But again, I do like the idea. So this is where now we can start maybe throwing in the alignment rules. Could actually be pretty cool. So that solves that problem. Do another 3 maybe. And for the most part, boom, that list at least is done. And I think most of the names then look pretty nice from the Y aspect. Yay, hooray. Hooray, nice, nice. Positioning's good. Ew, that didn't work. Well, no, that's how that works, I guess. That's how that goes. Not entirely sure why those are broken. Oh, because they have a different alignment. That's right. Okay. So actually, this is probably more important to figure out first. So, oh, we don't even use that one, funnily enough. Do we not use either of these? Really? That's actually really surprising then. How are we offsetting anything? All right, well, I'm just going to go ahead and commit all of this right away because who knows what the hell's going on here. And then now we want to basically, yeah, adjust this. The entire concept here is basically having a bar alignment equals FA left. Oh, we need both, don't we? So bar align, bar H align, bar V align, probably, yeah, makes the most sense. Put these down here since they aren't fully set up yet. Actually, these are, though, so we could probably throw these in here. FA left, FA top, that seems like a reasonable default to have. Now we need getters and setters for each. Bar get H align. I wonder if I should compile these into separates. We kind of already have that a little bit with blend. Or like, oh, well, that's the scribble thing, but that might not be a bad idea to combine all these into a single calls. How many of these do we actually use is the real question. Pretty much none, right? That's the benefit of doing this now before it gets weird. So in this case, it would basically be hex color, color BG, and then alpha, I think. I don't know. They have their... There's benefits and downsides to each. I think since we've already made them, I'll leave as is. I don't need to get too weird with it, but... Set H align, get H align over here. Set V align, get V align. Gets their bars. V align. So now we basically just have a system in place. There's boilerplate stuff here. To just automatically align stuff based on how you'd probably want it to look anyway, since in most cases that's probably more. It's very rare that you'd want to offset things by hand. Just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. It's kind of pointless. Makes way more sense that you'd want to specify, like, I want these to be left tied or right tied or something. All right, beautiful. Let me just double check these. We have get H line and set H line out of nowhere. It just got introduced out of nowhere. Yeah, looks good. Okay. So now we need to go ahead and use these things. I'm still really surprised that these aren't being used anymore. Oops. That's very interesting to me. They got completely cold when I wasn't even paying attention. All right, so now we at least have getters and setters for these things. So I I mean, fundamentally, how do we want to work these in? So I guess the sequence then is at fault here, if we're actually being honest. That's almost certainly where the actual issue is. Come on, move over. Sequence bar. Whoa. Placeholder reposition. We got these things. Then we do a bar height. Now that's interesting. That bar scale times 4. That's actually slightly different than what we had over here as bar scale times 6. That's really interesting. Now this would be step 1 to try to fix that stuff. Let's just comment that out and see what's going on with that if we can. This is probably where the issues come from, but even that's not entirely true. We have to worry about the actual sizing of the bars themselves. Boy, oh boy. Let's see. Oh, whoops. Just minimize that for myself. What the best place for this is. Probably here. That probably works. Wonder if I should get my face back on here. Nah. Who needs a face? Oh, okay. This thing got really screwed there, that's for sure. All right, 500% it is. So they aren't being adjusted on the y-axis. The x and y is just fine. That's good. If we don't adjust the bar borders, at the end of the day, I think at this point we are at a point where we can start removing these. I think so. So we use this here. It's set here. It's automatically adjusted here. But we don't actually use this, I don't think. Oh, well, we kind of do. Ooh, we kind of do. Yeah, control actually has bar x1, so that's not the greatest design decision we've ever made, but that's all right. Streaming too late. Oh, no. That's that time zone, baby. Let's see, where did this thing fall into? I think we just referenced these, Yeah, the French time zone. What time is it in France? In France. Oof. I said just stay up till like 4 a.m. What's the problem? It's no biggie. All right, so I have to figure out which one of these are going towards control and which ones are going towards the element in general. I believe these don't actually need to be adjusted. Instead, we need to tie it into the bar now, which is... well, because this is the... Geez. This is actually referencing the bar positions, which means if we actually just use, we could just get border. Equals bar get borders. Or is it bar get bounds? Yeah. Which means that here we could literally just go boop, Poop. Boop and poop. Boop and poop. And if we're lucky, that'll just work just cause. Beautiful. It absolutely doesn't work at all. Not even close. Not even remotely close. Oh, wait. Whoa. Whoa. That's not what I expected. Okay, I think it's because that needs to be a 2. I think that's what's going on here. I think I just used the Y value by accident. If we're lucky, then that's it. That's all we had. Whoops. Whoops. All right. There we go. Yeah, so now this works perfectly. Congratulations. Oh, I suppose for context, since if there is going to be somebody who's watching this later, then basically I'm taking a very, very old system in my bar elements. This little bad boy, one of the first things I made for this game, and it's just bad. And the details aren't important, but basically I'm making it not bad. I'm making a new version that is a separate system that can work with almost anything. That just won't suck, but that means I have to take all this functionality and port it somewhere else, and yeah, that's how that goes. So it's the current working goals. That's why we're doing all this, and that's why we're working on something that has always worked and might be confusing as to how these bars are so broken when they literally already worked in the demo. Well, I broke them, and then I'm now unbreaking them. Okay, so we know that this works now, and we know this works, and so we got all that set up. Should be good to go. Set that to 100-ish, whatever. Looks good. Now, as for why they're not offsetting is an entirely different situation, but that does at least clean up why the bar positions weren't working. We don't need those bar positions anymore. Boy, oh boy. Yeah, that would have messed. So it's like... Okay, I actually will talk about this because it's just particularly insane how ridiculous this actually was. So a lot of elements have a position, an XY position, where they're actually placed on the map. And then there's the X1, Y1, X1 through Y2 bounds, which handles their collision hitbox. And that's a little hefty, but that's okay because, you know, the position isn't the same as the hitbox, and we need to save that hitbox for, you know, reasonability. Otherwise, we'd be spending a lot of CPU time on recalculating that every time. So, hey, it makes sense. Except it gets even weirder because with the bar specifically, they were built so old, and for some reason, I imagine this is not how I originally designed it. I imagine this is something that happened over time, but I have some more stuff. I have also a bar X1 to bar Y2, which is the collision of the collision and the drawing code of the bar itself, which is separate from this, even though this isn't actually used. This is offset. And then we had, I've already removed it, but we had a bar X offset and a bar Y offset, which handled the positioning of the actual original text, except that already was handled by the position of the XY values. But that offset value was based off of the bar positions. So for some reason, even though we had an XY position, we weren't using it. We used bar X1 and then the offset position. It was just an absolute insane mess. We just had like an extra 6 variables for no reason, and it was borderline impossible to tell where these things were supposed to be. And so in lieu of the current menu rework that I've been doing, one thing I noticed was it was literally impossible to control where the bars go because I just actually had no control over it. It was, again, most of it had to be hard-coded, and most of it was hard-coded. I literally just put it like, okay, put it in X position 400 or whatever. So now that's no longer a problem. I mean, obviously I have to still rebuild the system, but like, actually, yeah, so these are still hard-coded because they're still working on the old system, and you can literally see that they just don't move. And that's just how all the bars used to be, because all the bars used to just be designed that way. It was a feature, I guess. I don't know. So that's just a small snippet. That's the tip of the iceberg over why I feel like I wanted to rework this thing, because it only got worse from there. It was just a terrible system, and I just don't understand why I did it this way. And again, I can't help but imagine that's probably not how it started, but it doesn't matter because that's where it ended. So here we are now. Anyhow, so this is bar X1 with the draw dynamics, right? We just went over this, and so we use this to position where the control is, but otherwise, I do believe the rest doesn't really matter too much. I do believe in pretty much every other situation, save for the 3 and the bar element. These are working as intended because these are a separate system altogether. Actually, I just have a better idea. We're going to do whole word only here. Excuse me. Oh, wait, that's interesting. We had some that disappeared. Oh. Yeah, that's actually good. Whole word only. Excuse me. I'm going to rename these slightly so I can get my bearings a bit better. We're going to call it C underscore. If we do this properly, it should mean all of these will now be very explicitly control, right? It's very good, I think, in this particular case, because having multiple variables from different sources named the same thing is a monster when you come into situations like this. Bar y1, no problems. We can eventually go back and try to fix this naming convention in the first place afterward, but for now it makes the most sense just to do this. Looks good, and then we do an x2 here, and then once again same thing, bar x2 is h border. Oops, sounds good to me. All right, now we know that these are the only things here, so as long as we can completely remove these, we should be completely done. Finished removing bar coordinates from bar element. Let me double check these. Staging y1, y2. Just gotta make sure I didn't make any typos, to the best of my ability at least. Looks reasonable, looks good, okay. Yeah, so element bar border now, this is the key. I think we can just pull this one out. That's what we had here. If we go to placeholder, I do believe element positioning occurs left, top, right, bottom, just like before. I don't believe we need that anymore. I don't believe we need this anymore. I think that's gonna work. I think that's all we need to do here. Should clean things up. Alrighty. Looks good for now. I think we have that kind of solved. I'll have to do some more border work in the future, but for now, that should be fine. Element bar border. I think that's fine. I'd rather change this to X, Y with height, but for now, I think it's fine to just cut this entirely. I'm going to go ahead and write that down, though. Okay. So that takes care of that. Element bar border in the combat bar level. Realistically speaking, what that actually should just be is that's just offsetting. We're doing exactly what we already wanted to do, which is x1, y1, blah, blah, blah. But now we're just making it slightly more complex. In fact, part of me is thinking that maybe, well, one step at a time. We might be onto something with that, though. We might be able to just access the bar border right there. So we should have, I mean, we can just adjust the offset directly, so it's not like it's a hugely difficult thing to do. That right there is a big deal. So now the bar border is completely gone. A lot of these border systems now will probably fail to adjust nicely, but it's not that big of a deal. We have a list here that auto adjusts. That's great. These things are sequence bound, so that makes sense for those. We jump into here. The health bars simply just don't show up, but that's not actually entirely incorrect. These are working as intended. They have no offsets. All right, so the health bar here, just be bar set offset. Health bar. I believe we should be able to, because this is the thing. This is really interesting. So we don't set the width here. Not really. We kind of do. So we move down by this much. Right, they're the same. Then we have the global bar offset twice, which is partially what makes me think the Y offset might just be that. Dink and then dank. And then for the X offset, I do believe we can just do this. And then over here, it's just this. Feels like that kind of makes the most sense here. So realistically speaking, I don't think any of that actually needs to be in there. We just set it all out here outside. Minus sprite. For now, let's just do minus sprite width. This can just be then sprite width times 2. I think. Because if it was 0.75 down and then 0.75 up, that's 1.5, ends up being 2.5 actually. That would be the ideal, times 0.75. And then over here, sprite height times this times 1.75. Sure, sounds good. Health bar. Then it's the same thing here. This needs to be health bar and then health bar. Something along those lines. If that works for the combat bar, if everything works out here, that's a really good sign, because that means that we do have the control that we say that we do, and that means we can start doing a lot of things. This just doesn't show up though, so that's good. That's great. If the bar just straight up doesn't show up at all, that's, you know, the best actually. So I guess step 1 is just to see if the bar exists properly and where those positions might be, if it does exist. Enter into combat, see what's going on with that. Drop in. Okay, so we should just be able to get immediately into bar check. It's fine. Go ahead and draw bar. That's good. Mostly. All right, we got all of our stuff. We're in there. Get coordinates. Oops, I should have checked that. Oh, well, too late. Can I just view this? Oh, no, just the array. Damn shame. 0, 0 is apparently the position. That is a problem. So really what the issue here actually is just we need to do element position, health bar, XY, health bar, Needs to just be positioned wherever the unit is, I guess. If it's just 0, 0, then that's the problem right there. Okay, I mean, that kind of worked. It's not the most elegant looking thing, though, gotta say. But yeah, close. Make it big for now. I just want to be able to see it. Something's telling me that this isn't quite working how we want it to, and I'm not entirely sure why not. Well, we gotta figure that out first. Okay, see, yeah, that's... Oh, geez. Okay, so there it is. That's step 1. What in the world is this, then? That's bizarre. What are we even looking at right now? So obviously, we certainly have a bar, that's for damn sure. But for some reason, it's in just a very bizarre place. I don't know what's going on with that. It won't move where it is. Why might that be? Well, that's a good first step at least, right? Being able to at least see that it certainly exists. Something's going on there. Yeah, there's a bar right there. That looks proper. A little big, but it still works. If we just reset the offset to 0, perhaps, will it now show up where we want it to? I mean, it should still be in the wrong place, though, right? It's so interesting. I wonder why that is. Why is that like that? Well, try again. Let's jump on in there. What? All right, well, I don't know what the hell that was, but... Oh my god. All right, well, it happens every step, so... I have to go into that one and then go into that one. That's weird behavior. Okay, get coordinates. Coordinate function is just x, y. So now we've got x and y. Sounds good. Bar offset. 0, 0. Bar scale 3 and 3. Sounds good. Both counts. That's perfectly fine. We're just doing some small adjustments over where these things are supposed to be. We have a rather... Oh, what? Okay, well, that's the first issue. What do you mean? The bar height is 6 and the bar width is 0. When, how, where? How did those get so screwed up? I mean, that's the issue right there. Well, first of all, small performance boost. But we should really calculate this once and then just use it. Doesn't make sense to calculate it twice. But that right there sounds like the issue to me. I don't know where or how that got screwed up. Very, very strange. Where's the create event? Right here, that should not be an issue. Oops, I didn't debug. I just realized you can't see anything going on in there. I should make like a script that just automatically shows, zooms in on whatever screen I'm looking at. Okay. Oops, wrong thing. Jump into here. All right, so makes sense. That's what we'd expect. It crashed. Oh, I love Game Maker's debugger that just crashes the game. Oh, I love it. Oh, it's so easy to debug when the debugger itself is bugged. Oh, it's so good. What a great patch we're on, baby. I love it. It's the best. Okay, just please get out of there ASAP. All right, all I need to be able to see is just the health bar itself. I can do that. I can do that the old-fashioned way. Health bar, boom. And then in here, you should have your bar values. Yep. Bar width is currently 120. I think that's just a default. Bar height is 12. Again, another default. We just set this to 3, so that's good. Bar height is now 6. That's good. Bar width is now 0. Is that because we haven't set a sprite yet? Is that right? That's not the most fun. SPR unit. Well, okay. Well, so this is 25. Boy, oh boy. All right. I think I get the problem now. We haven't set a sprite yet. A small little issue. If we just did 25 directly, I wonder if that'll work. Still doesn't really fully explain what's happening with like the double drawing thing going on there. That's a separate issue we have to figure out. Yep. I see. So that's that one. That's what's going on there. So we've got whatever this is working out. If we set an offset, that should do it. That's why there was 2 health bars, because there's 2 people. Duh. And the offset is going to be off anyway because, again, sprite height. So this was 25 and 30, by the way. It's 25. This was 32. Double check, but yeah, that's what was going on here. We can close the debugger now. That thing's way too buggy right now. It's not worth keeping open for much longer than necessary. 25 times 0.25. Okay, cool. So like 60-ish. We'll just do times 2, honestly. Sounds good to me. I'll do width. That's it, just width. Problem solved. So it's minus 25. Plus 25 and then the actual 25 itself. Bit of a wider bar, to be fair. We'll see pretty quickly if that's really annoying or not. Oh, I forgot about this. The height ends up being odd. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that much. Sprite Y offset, I don't know. Probably something like 16, to be honest. I bet. Really is not that big of a deal. None of this is going to work anyway. We just need temp values to work with. more long term, we have to figure out, yeah, how we want to handle this. I think the sprite with sprite height thing is actually pretty smart because there were situations where we might want to like actually adjust the size of the sprite. There's at least one unit I can think of where that would be really helpful to do. But as it is right now, don't really make a whole lot of sense to do that. Yeah, it looks good. A little wonky. I think that's fine. Since I'm paying 25 times combat scale, baby. Anyway, I don't know. There's a world where we just set it here, I suppose. It might be the smartest choice. Because I don't know if I want to give up that potential. Wow, this is so weird. It keeps doing things that I am not ever expecting it to do. Which I can't tell if that's just my math being bad or if I'm like actually just like straight up forgetting a bunch of stuff. That's nuts. Like if I'm setting the offset to -W and then setting the width to just the width of the whole thing. Okay, you know what? Whatever. Let's just move on. Okay, so I think unit buff bar position. That's a lot. You know what? This is probably the smartest template though to work with. Just straight out. Establishes a health bar location. I think it's kind of necessary. Because no matter what, we still need this. Whoops. I copied in the wrong place. And it made things ugly. There. Bart. Excuse me. This still ends up being a bit strange. So we want the scale is something we can obviously set, you know, just set that and just fire and forget. Don't worry about it. The width and the height are not things that I think will ever change mid-combat. But I suppose I'm not entirely sure when we set the sprite, though. So as messy as this is, I almost wonder if we just kind of have to set this every step anyway. At least unless we're able to find like a very easy way. We'd probably need a function in here that overrides the element sprite adjustment. So when you actually go and set that sprite, it also sets this bar scale, but then we have to actually make a function for that and make sure that applies everywhere. I don't know. That's a lot of work for something that's relatively small. At least we know that this is basically working. This isn't actually incorrect. It was just awkward for other reasons. So all that to say, the most important thing is just actually adjusting based on unit position first. So first we do that. Then we go ahead mind you, I think we'll be removing the bar element at some point anyway, and just attaching all of this directly to the unit because, you know, we don't really want to have to do this. It'd be nice if we just can skip right past that part. But in the meantime, for this bar, we want to set the width. And by the way, this is the other reason why I wanted to change this, is for more versatility, because if the bar is actually a separate component that can be attached to things, I can just attach this bar to a unit, and that's really easy to do. Right now, I have to attach it to a bar element, which is attached to a stat element, which is attached to a clickable element, which then I have to basically just have a separate clickable element inside of the unit interactable, which is all just a lot of words and a lot of confusion, and partially is what leads to these very bizarre cases of I don't know what's going on because it's not helping me to figure that out at all. Boy, oh boy, this becomes a lot easier if I can just put the bar on something and just call it a day. So, anyhow, bar set width needs to be, I still like sprite width. I actually still think that's pretty smart. I think I'll do sprite width times 1.5 for the actual sprite width itself, and then so unit, by the way, unit.sprite width. Then the offset is simply just negative sprite width, which, by the way, I guess we can do maybe something like this. Var width is equal to this, maybe just W. Var h is equal to sprite height. Now we've established those, we can just do, yeah, this ends up being the bar itself plus a quarter on each side. And then offset that by times 0.25. So we move backwards 0.25. As for the height, that's the sprite height. And so the height itself, we just want that to be established. And that we probably could put back here because the height should never change, no matter how big of a monster we're fighting with. But then this portion, well, I guess I'll do it down here because it's a bit more clear what I'm saying. Half the height, move down half the height. And let's see how that goes. Yeah, that's pretty good. Kind of. So again, what exactly... Take a screenshot of this for myself, and then I'll close this so people can see what the heck's going on here. Oops. Lord knows what's going on. Yeah, so that's the thing. This feels like it should just work. And the fact that it doesn't is partially what bothers me about this. Oh, I understand what's happening. Okay. Actually, this does make sense. I just wasn't paying enough attention here. Not that thing. This thing? I had to change the windows, though. Because this is the X position right here. It's right in the middle. This is the XY we're working with. I'm thinking it's here for some reason. No, it's here. It's centered. So that right there is the reason why this is causing problems. As long as we take care of that. So instead of doing like this 1.5 is probably still correct, but we're in the middle, which means it actually ends up being 0.75 because we need to go half and then a quarter. And that's why. That should pretty much fix the problem. As for the height, same issue, right? We need to pull that way up because we're working not from the bottom or anything like that. Yeah, see, now it's clean, right in the middle. So the height is kind of a similar deal, right? We have the height right in the middle, and what we actually want that to be is probably closer to a quarter to pull it back up, since we're already lower down than one would expect. There we go. It looks closer to what it's supposed to be. Now, I do believe this is still wider. I do believe there's still something, a little small little hijinks going on somewhere. We're 54 pixels on the left, and we are 70 pixels on the right. Whoops. Meaning we're 8 pixels off. As for why that might be happening, I am not entirely sure. If I do -1, perhaps that would fix it. I guess technically that would. A quarter of 25 is close enough, probably. It's kind of anyone's guess. Whoa. Oh, it wouldn't be a quarter of 25, would it? Be a quarter of 25 too. That still looks like way too much of a difference. This is what's throwing me off. This is why I'm confused. Something just still doesn't feel right about this. I feel like these adjustments are making way too big of a difference, and I can't tell if that's just my bad math or if that's actually a bug going on with the system right now. There's actually something wrong with it. It's really hard to tell. Because it certainly doesn't feel like that's correct. Just straight out. That definitely does not feel like that's correct. We have the sprite width, which should be 25 times 2. We are now doing a quarter of that, 12.5. The offset should now only be 12.5 pixels to the left. Theoretically, that's all it should be. And yet it basically just, you know, got slam dunked over. Hang on. There you go. This right here, this is what 12.5 pixels should be. So I don't think I'm actually going crazy here. I think something's wrong. I don't know what, but that's what 12.5 pixels are. This little piece, right? That's what we're actually looking at right now. This is way too much. So small adjustment, but I would like to figure out what is W actually right now. Are we sure that this is 50? Are we 100% positive? Is this not more? Maybe it's a simpler issue than I thought, but something leads me to believe that this is real strange for a few reasons. 50, -37.550. Yeah, that... Not gonna lie, that seems like bullshit. I don't know. Bar offset. We use it specifically here. I guess the only way to know for sure is we have to go into the debug again and try to see what's going on with that. That's the only way we can tell for sure. We have coordinate 1 and coordinate 0, 1. We set the bar offsets. Again, no matter what the width is, that shouldn't really have any effect on the offset. The offset's just moving it around. That's the entirety of the point of that. It's just supposed to move it around, nothing more, nothing less. It is in fact 50. We know that for a fact. We just checked that. The 12.5 difference, and yet if I do that, it rockets over to the left. That's just too big of a difference, man. I have another theory though. I have another theory based on these two things. And if it's true, it's going to be more annoying actually. But we'll do our best. My other theory is that the scale function we use could be the reason for it. If 12.5 is supposed to be the change, the current scale is 3, which means 12.5 times 3 would actually be 37.5. If it is, in fact, 37.5 between the difference of these two images, that should more or less confirm it. Is my paint on it showing? It's not? Bruh, I don't know what is wrong with OBS, dude. I swear it like forgets what this window is every single time anything happens. So what is the difference between this side and this side? 25. 25 pixels. Now that's not quite what I had in mind. So that actually further complicates things even more. But if it is 25 pixels, then that means that at the very least it is being doubled. So again, I don't know where that would be happening, but that is important information to know. So this is twice, the offset change is twice as large as we expected it to be. I don't know why I opened this, honestly. We already know it was 12.5, I'm not sure. This means that all these changes are inherently like twice as large as they're supposed to be. As for why that is, I don't know. I don't fully understand. We're putting in an X offset here. It should just be something normal. We already added it up. If this was normal, this would only be 25. So 0.25 of that would be really tiny. But we know it's 50. That's the point. A fourth of that is 12.25. By the way, is my laundry done? I think I might have to actually go check my laundry. Just a second. I have to go check that. The answer was yes. Yes, it was. Put on a timer anyway. Hang on. Let's see, what is it right now? 640-ish, something like that. Okay. So around 7. Sounds good. Okay. Now I'm cold. I just put my robe. I just put my robe in there. I need something to replace it. Alright, this works. Solid hoodie. Okay. I guess I could put my laundry away now, but I mean, I don't imagine it's going to be wildly different in energy or entertainment. You talk about like the facts of life or something, I don't know. But yeah, I'll just let it sit there. It's fine. All right, where were we? Right. So this thing is doubled. Okay. Yeah. So I think at the end of the day, this is this we have to inspect both of these. There's no better way. I don't know why it'd be doubling. We have to figure that out because, well, we could just ignore that and just have the change and just call it a day. The danger, I feel, is that that's gonna very quickly, that's gonna turn into a nightmare later down the line because there's probably something buggy going on here, and if we don't understand exactly how this works, then it'll be a pain to adjust. It should be pixels. Bar offset should just be pixels. For the sake of my own sanity, that's what it should be every single time. This is negative. These are the values we're working with here. Wait, what the heck? What just happened? Did it? It just crashed. It crashed. Oh my gosh, I hate the debugger just literally crashing all the time. It crashes all over the place. Just, it's so fucking hard to debug anything because it just literally can't survive a second, I swear. Okay. Okay, please don't crash. But I need to be able to see. It should be fine if I just go, okay, come out. All right. We send it into bar. And then through here, this is super tiny text for me to read, but I can't blow that up, which is another great design decision. I mean, hey, that's hard enough, so I get it, but scale is 3. Cool. Sounds good. Bar offset is an array. Well, we just set, okay, so the moment, there's definitely nothing going on strange here. In bar set offset, writing this down, we set by pixel. Nothing weird. 1-to-1. So we know that for a fact. Absolutely nothing to worry about there. The next thing is the draw event. Jump into here. First, I'd like to see the struct we're in immediately. Bar offset is now 0.18. That is probably not the same bar. Maybe. There's no way to know for sure, though. We're doing a whole lot of bar draw offsets. Okay, this is the one. This is the guy, yeah, right here. So I don't think that was the same bar. We get our coordinates. That should be fine. Please don't crash. The bar offset is something that exists. Yes, correct. That all looks good to me. We have a width, we have a height. Yeah, that makes sense. This is all what we want it to be. Problem solved. No biggies. No issues. We get all of our values. Yeah, this is a very, very good. This looks good to me. That's all correct. All of this is correct. Weird. There's nothing wrong about anything that happened there. So why in the world is it breaking? I guess the next step would simply just be to bar get offset health bar. Something like that, maybe. Take a look, see. 37.5, everything's looking good. Sounds good to me. Drop this down. 0.25 of 50 should be just minus 50. 100 times out of 100. If it's anything else than that. Yep, but then the drawing is completely off though. Which I suppose by that extent, you know, we can also do the math here ourselves. Even at this particular case, is it 37 off the position? Because that would be the best way to tell right away. If it's not actually 37 position off, then we already know that this thing's bugged. And it's not. 37.5 times 2 is 75. And it's actually about 75 off. There we go. See right there. That's 75 pixels. So for some reason it is 2 to 2. Now, arguably, you could just say, well, that's because, you know, the bar is doubled in size. The bar is supposed to be scaled to double its size. That's the point. But even that's not actually technically true because the bar itself is supposed to be scaled to the current size, which is bar scale combat, which should be 3, actually. So even then, I don't think that would be good design. If the unit itself is scaled times 2, the bar probably shouldn't follow that. That's a very like hyper-specific thing that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I don't understand how or why the actual drawing position is adjusting the way it is. I don't quite get it. It's very strange. We get their coordinates correctly, we seem to get these correctly, and yet in the process of drawing, somehow we break everything. I truly have no clue what's going on with that. I think there's only one thing we can really do here. I think I'm going to say bar get bounds for the health bar. I'm going to need something here. Excuse me. This turned into a very weird thing, but again, I don't think we can really... I don't want to skimp on this. This seems important not to skimp on. I need to know exactly why this thing is doing what it's doing, because otherwise, yeah, this will become a nightmare to code for in the future, which is exactly what we're trying to avoid, because we already have dealt with that. We've already dealt with that insanity of like, oh, well, this is just a weird, you know, the thing works exactly as intended, except for that one weird edge case where actually it doesn't work as intended because it actually is doubled. So just make sure it's pixel perfect unless it's not pixel perfect. That's how you get into hard code territory, and that's what we've been dealing with for years for a few different systems. And that's like, now is the time to fix that, dude. Now is the time to not deal with that 100 times out of 100, please. Bar and get bounds. Speaking of which, I could probably remove this debug stuff already. I don't... it's kind of nice, though. It's nice to be able to swap really quickly. For now, yeah, I think we legitimately just want to change. I just want this to be like bar add bounds. Or bar add offset. we'll just do -1 and then health bar. If you're holding control, otherwise just do this. If you're not holding control, both are fine. I think that'll be really helpful though. I need to literally see what's happening here. I've got the bounds, that's fine. It's not working. Make sure this is actually registering first. It is working. If I put that in here, it's probably safer. It'll be easier that way. I only want to adjust the player in the first place. So that's really interesting, by the by. It seems like we can't adjust it. Is that because this? That's probably why. Yeah. We adjust it by 1, but then we immediately reset it. So yeah, we'll just set the width immediately. Call that a day. I believe we should be able to. Yeah, there we go. There, that's exactly 0. Ends up lining up basically in the middle. That's pretty much what you'd expect. So let's just go ahead. There, that's what -20 is supposed to look like, according to this. But it's 40 pixels off. So it is legitimate. It's like... Can we get to -21? Perfect. I think it literally is a 2-to-1 every time. That's crazy. We lined this up perfectly. Yeah. Come check this out. It's something special. It's something real cool. Got all this stuff going on here. This ends up lining up perfectly. We moved literally 1 pixel, and in the process, this thing is just 2 pixels off. That is really interesting. So it literally moves 2 pixels every single time. And well, that's interesting. That's times 2 then. Hang on then. There we go. We have 2 comparators again. Good friends, I believe I have actually discovered the source of the bug. I think I know what the problem is. It's a lot stupider than you'd think. And it is in fact my fault. Okay, so this... All right, well, at least we know what it is. Nothing's wrong, actually. This is working as intended. But it's a bit of a weird little thing I didn't think about until right now. The reason why it's always 2 pixels is because we're zoomed in. Because by default, something I kind of forgot about, but the default camera is already time zoom. This is zoomed in times 4. This is what normal pixel perfect actually looks like, because pixels are tiny. So that's it. Oh, hang on, game. All right, there you go. Now you should be able to see the game. This is what normal pixel perfect looks like. Right here. That's what it looks like. This is zoomed in times 2, and this is the default camera zoom, because I went, wow, that's tiny. Let's start here. I made that decision a long time ago, and I forgot how that worked. Yeah, that's how this actually works. Now, could make an argument that perhaps maybe we should just blow up the scale of everything so that this becomes the normal size, or even better, maybe something like this. You know, make everything like 8 times bigger, so then that way it's really, you can have really smooth zooms. Because as of right now, it's literally just this or this. There is no in between, and I don't know who the heck cares that much about zoom precision, but that's why this looks this way. That's why it's kind of messy. That's all that's happening. It's because this is quite literally the size. This is how it looks. So when we say move over like 5 pixels, it's just, yeah, okay, I'll move over 5 pixels. And then if we're zoomed in, well, that's 10 pixels now. So that is a little embarrassing that we spent that much time over something that actually isn't problematic at all. Though it does make the math a little bit more awkward to consider. You know, but that's just how that works. So let me go and check all my commits and stuff to see what's happening here. Making sure I just have everything accounted for, so I'm not getting, there's no surprise changes that I forget about. Actually, yeah, it's a good thing I looked through this, because there actually are kind of a few changes that I forgot we made. We'll have to go and adjust those. But okay, so with all that in mind, then, this is actually simpler than I thought. So in fact, all this is doing is just accounting for the sprite scale. And because we're times 2, we just don't actually have to worry about it at all. So the reason why I got confused at all in the first place was just because I was trying to adjust, because this is close but a little bit off, which, to be fair, that's another issue altogether. That is something else. This should just be correct. Though that might have more to do with the sprite itself. All I want to do is just make it, you know, a couple pixel perfect changes, and actually when I did the movement here, I went, oh, I think you should be able to see that, yeah. I went, oh, see, that's 27 pixels. And oh, that's 35 pixels. We want to move this thing 4 pixels over. It should be 2. That's it. That's the only difference. Now, again, I probably shouldn't do that because, yeah, excuse me. That's like, again, hard coding stuff. And I'd rather just figure out why. I still think it's probably just the actual setup itself is kind of awkward. Let's see, SPR unit is 12. Actually, I think, you know, I think I know exactly why this is the case too, because this is 25. So it's not possible for the origin to be in the middle because there's no middle of 25. It's actually kind of weird. That might sound weird. You might expect. By the by, that's what that looks like. Just gotta take care of closing things when I'm done with them so people can see other stuff. But yeah, you might notice that this origin lands in between pixels. You can see this very precisely over here on the hitbox point that we have. This is 2x2. It's a 2x2 sprite, and you notice this is right in the middle. If we made this 1x1, it could only be either, right, it would only be in one of these 4 corners, which means there is no possible way it could be in the middle of a 1x1 pixel, or even a 3x3. It's only in the middle if it's a 2x2, which is a really weird thing that makes sense if you think about it, but it's not immediately intuitive. So I think that's all that's why that's there. So we just spent a ton of time over something that honestly did not need any of that time. I will make this like 3.5 because I want a little more space below for the unit to fully show its true colors. That's not really the word you use here, but hey, whatever works. Yeah, something like that. That's good. But yeah, otherwise, the only reason it's impossible for that to be, we would just need to make everything 1 pixel bigger, honestly. That's the solution. Wow. Okay. I have now planned out my stream schedule exactly to time it so that so that Papa Duck will never be able to catch one again. Absolute madman. Okay, we've spent enough time with this. So that anyway, this turned into a bit of a mess, but oh well. That's crazy though. I can't believe everything that happened. Oh my gosh. I mean, I guess it's kind of nice. It's a nice reminder, but oh my gosh, it was so much time, so much mental agency just to get reminded that zooming exists. Like, he's kidding me right now. Oh my god. Did you know? All right. Oh boy. So what else did needed to be? All right. So combat scale. Those are fine, I think. We're now just handling the bar scale directly. Again, just to remind what the hell's going on here, right? The only real goal here is just to get all these things to a much simpler and what would be the word you'd use? Just simple, yeah, like the little executions. It's just all handled by a bar component now, instead of using a specific bar X1, bar Y1. The goal is to slowly but surely cut all the functionality out of this thing, and then eventually just delete this function altogether. Just delete this and pull some of the things I used in here into the stat element instead. This is another one that is kind of crazy. Most of this stuff doesn't actually need to exist. Most of the stuff already does exist. That's the other kind of crazy thing too. A lot of this stuff literally already exists in here. Like the percentage display system is already something that exists in clickable text. I just had to recreate it for this. It's just a monster. Just a monster. Okay, I think we have everything handled with the list element. By the way, I think I just reset my pop filter a little bit there, because I'm pretty sure I just frickin' popped right into the mic and I got all poppy on me. Cause it's weird because like this mic's pretty good, and I have like a little feedback where I can hear my voice through it, which was really weird to get used to. At this point now, I'm finally used to hearing my own voice all the time, but it's not actually super accurate because I have some filters also running, and this doesn't catch the filters. So I almost need like an actual just audio interface, honestly, so I can hear what my voice actually sounds like, because this is how my voice sounds like raw, but I don't know how it sounds after a limiter and compression. I think it's basically the same. You know, I know how it sounds because I've recorded videos before, but, you know, It's anyone's guess how that actually turns out in the end. Because the stream, for some reason, I don't know, filters just seem to surprise me regularly for some reason. Where the settings that I use for one stream, I'll literally use the exact same settings for recording, for streaming, multiple times in a row, and then suddenly it'll just sound different. And I'm like, yo, what just happened? And I actually have no clue. And it's very bizarre. But anyhow, I just heard a bunch of pops, so I'm not sure if that got caught or not. Babadee, babadoo. By the way. Well, those are debugs, we don't care. How many other things do we have to worry about here? I do believe the only adjustment we wanted to worry about here, by the way, was combat draw at line 55 right here. The original case had this. That's what we cut from here. The reason why we want to double check that is because we don't actually do much here, to be honest. The bar level, though, we do still want some amount of, we want to be able to set the width of the thing, that's for sure. It would in fact be elements name. That's still true. It's just that instead of setting it like this, I don't know. Well, x2 minus x1, that's not entirely incorrect. And that actually is, you know what? That actually is probably the right way to handle it. Where's x2? We can just do this. That's easier. We don't use x2 in any other context. That might not be entirely wrong. I don't know. I have to go check that. Excuse me. Because I believe, remember that we've got dynamicism with the actual window itself, so it's possible the bars might adjust with, which means we might actually want to do something about that. I'll also just do this too. Bar set height, bar scale times 2, just because that's nice to guarantee. The last thing, which is what this is, that's it. Should be fine. As long as we get the position down, which we do, the rest just falls into place. I do believe, if we're very lucky, that handles everything. Yep, that's good to go. I mean, you know, as good as it could be. Like that is intention. That is the intention. That's the proper wording for that. Delightful, lovely. Yes. Yeah, that's exactly how we want it to look. Now we just need these things to get pushed up. And so the way we actually do that is we basically just do bar set offset to something like this. Boom. And then the actual Y position just goes up. I do believe we just do that. That's not good. That ain't right. I think it was this way instead. By the way, that's not what I meant to do. It'd be 0 then that. There we go. Bar scale times 4. And bar scale times 4, pushing things down a step. These are equivalent. So again, this, what does this do? This pushes the bars down by 4, so we want to rise these by 4. That's all. I think that'll do it. I think that math works out. Again, most of this probably won't stay the same anyway, but I'd still prefer. Okay, so this was not entirely wrong, but again, so this is the problem, right? I don't understand why these are not adjusting anymore. So that's the biggest issue to me. What the heck? Did we screw up? We did screw up, that's why. Because we didn't target this. That should do it. If we just remove this entirely, by the way. I think maybe, because that was too low to me personally. That seemed like very, very low. Okay, that's better. Now we're talking. Yeah, that's nicer. So I guess this does still need to be minus global bar offset times 2. In fact, it actually probably should be the other way around, right? Yeah. There we go. Now we're talking. That looks nice. Now, once again, we have all these attacks, and they're showing up in a weird position. But that's looking pretty good. All right. So at the end of the day, we are adjusting the offsets. On the GUI layer, things are pixel perfect. We should be able to adjust those just fine. I think... Well, again, I want to try to set that up working as it was before we changed anything. And the last one would be element creation. In element creation, but we just don't do anything, so that should be fine too. Okay. So we finished removing bar coordinates for bar element. That's a great next step. Okay, so now the next step. Now that we've managed to basically replicate how things worked beforehand, now is the time where basically we try to remove all instances of bar set offset, right? I want, like, it's good to have these. It's good to have these options as like, okay, I'm going to pixel perfect this bad boy, but this really should never be the way you default to doing it. That's why we added these a little bit ago. We added the H-align, V-aligns, and whatnot, because the intent should be you can just set these alignment variables, and if you do that, ideally it should be in a position where basically that'll handle the offsetting for you. And that's where then these functions come in. Let me clap some of these regions. That's where these functions come in. Now, these are old functions, but I think that shouldn't matter too much. I think we can still take advantage of them. So I'm going to go ahead and drop these in here. If I remember correctly, right, we don't actually use these anywhere anymore. They no longer exist, so that's really good. We can just drop these in here without having to worry. And so then this just becomes gets expected offset based on alignment. Now, I think this might even be another adjustment. I don't think this will actually change the offset values. I still like the idea of always being able to have like your own little hard-coded movements, because sometimes in rare cases, it's just nice to have that. You should pretty much never want to use these, but it's good to have the option. At least that's my general rule of thumb, because eventually comes a point where you're just like, damn, I actually need to do something about this. But at least with this, if we're really lucky, we shouldn't ever have to worry about that. With bar width, we can literally just access the bar width itself. Same thing with bar height. It's just this. So that actually is quite nice. We don't have to pass that in anymore. As for the alignment, same thing. It should just be bar H align, bar V align. Based on these 3 cases, you grab something either way. Bar scale is probably what we actually want to use here, to be honest. Boop, and then boop. There you go, looking good. Okay, so here's the deal. I have to figure out how I want to use these and where and when, what's going on with all that. I don't believe we need this either. We'll do bar get H offset, maybe. Get V offset. Is that correct? Sounds good to me. We'll grab these. I don't mind draw being the lowest. It's the most complicated, so it makes sense. Check requirements. That's fine. Get coordinates. I think I'll put this right above get coordinates. Makes sense. Or get coordinates. And then I think, yeah, this is where we go and throw that in there. Plus this. Okay. Now, I don't know for sure, but if we're lucky, I think that'll do a lot for us, based entirely on just what the bar alignment actually is. Okay, so first of all, right away. Oh, shoot. Hang on. I have to rethink how this works. This was designed around the idea of this is what so again, I said before that there was a bar X offset. And so what that meant is that I would have the actual positions of the, bar here. And then the X offset would say, okay, now take the name and move it over here. And the Y offset would then say, take the name and move it over here. That's what's happening here. If we have the bar and we say, I want FA top, FA left, we will do that. If I say, I want FA right, FA bottom, we'll do the opposite, right? And so then we put it here. That's what's currently happening. But remember that we have changed that system because it was extremely confusing. The current system now instead just makes this work. The bar is an extra thing you add on top. So in the case of all these things, the position is just this. That's just the text. That's how everything works, right? For everything in here, right? The position is just all the text boxes and the like. You know what I mean? So this bar now is just positioned based on that. It'll go, okay, well, this is the XY. How wide and tall am I? And then what's the offset I'm using? And so that's exactly what we had before. We say that it's 12 pixels tall for these, and then the width is as wide as the sidebar is, and then we just offset this. The problem now, though, is that if we have our text here, and then we have our bar that goes, okay, now this is where we're supposed to go. Right now, the FA left and FA top will be going, okay, well, let me move the bar up and then let me move the bar left, and that doesn't make any sense anymore. So realistically speaking, how do we work this around? Basically, what needs to change, if we have the text here, FA top, the baseline, again, should be that with 0 offset, this thing, the bar is just right on top of the text. That's the best possible outcome here. It makes things the easiest for us to work with. Because then, if we're lucky, all we have to do now is just FA top means, push that bar down. FA bottom means push that bar up. FA middle means do nothing. That's the best outcome. FA left then means pretty much do nothing. FA middle means, I'm not entirely sure, to be honest. That's actually even harder to consider, since it's kind of already positioned at the point you'd expect. Oh, boy. Oh. That's really interesting. Boy, yeah. Well, that's what's going on anyway. So let me write down exactly what we're trying to get. FA top means push bar down. FA bot means push bar up. FA middle means nothing. FA left, interestingly, at least right now, means nothing. Pretty much every case, right? Arguably, maybe that's the problem. I'm not entirely sure, but that's just the current reality. It means nothing. That actually could explain some of the other interesting aspects we had beforehand. If I were to go back to game controller real quick, just would like to remind. So that's how that looks normally. It's a little bit awkward. Don't worry about it too much. If I do FA top, though, it kind of lines up almost perfectly with FA middle, but FA top is like a little bit low. But that might not be too bad, Because FA top right there, well, the reason why it's doing that is because the actual coordinate's somewhere right here, right? If the bar wasn't here, that'd be the top left of the heart. That's where it starts, you know, the top left of the sprite. And so it's not that unreasonable. Basically, it's just going like, okay, well, I'll start from there. I'll start trying to draw. And again, ignoring... Let's go turn this off for now. Just real quick. Just return 0 each time. Also, these should be static. Right. Like, that's actually not that incorrect at all. We start at the top left right here, where that's where the text starts. That's kind of what you'd expect. And we just go, okay, well, start from here. The width is there. So boom, X, Y, width, height. Right. And that's why it lines up where it does. And that's good, honestly. Anyway. I guess the bigger issue is that we don't actually know what the coordinates are going to be for the... Maybe we base it on the given units x1, y1, but then that also really... That means we couldn't use this for anything that you know, doesn't have x1, y1, x2, y2. It would have to have its own coordinate box. That could get messy fast. So I wonder why... Sorry, kind of just forgot I was streaming for a second. No, I got lost in thought. Just trying to think what the best way of doing stuff is. A lot of different little weird things to consider here. But yeah, I feel like these are actually maybe more accurate, honestly. Because it's like, well, we're establishing the master volumes right here. That's just the positioning of it. Sure, sounds good. And then this thing just ends up being directly in the middle. But like, is that actually how that works? I like forget how those things specifically are designed. But I think this is correct. Because I'm pretty sure this is the XY position with height. And if I remember right, this thing is FA middle, FA top, which is why it's... FA center. So that's why it's over here, because that's how center works. It centers it, right? The text is centered on that XY position. FA left says it's right here. FA right says the end is right here. Those are all the different ways. That's all just like built-in text formatting of GameMaker. And I think that's actually what we're seeing right here. So just trying to put all that together. Like, what does that mean for how we want to adjust this? Well, it would mean that relative to that, we would want to make sure if the actual text is FA middle, I feel like that does actually matter though, right? That's a legitimate thing that matters, because that will change. I guess you could make an argument that maybe just if you have a bar, I don't know, dude. That's complicated. That's real complicated. I guess maybe we need a coordinate function for alignment, perhaps. And like the default is just FA top, FA left, and we just don't have to worry about it for default. But if alignment exists and you're using it, that might actually matter a lot. Whoops. I'll just slap the shit out of my mic. All right. Yeah, we might need some kind of coordinate function for alignment. That may be necessary. But in the sense, in the event that it isn't, should we default to FA top, FA left? Because that would basically just be like, okay, well, just start drawing from here. Top left corner. And again, that's kind of what we see here. Though again, that's actually with the bar offset, so if we remove that entirely, that might make it even easier to understand what's going on here. Right? I think that does actually work out. I'm gonna take a quick screenshot. Now we're going to not create a bar here. Take another screenshot. Notate that this explicitly starts to draw, excuse me, right here. This position right here, 3049, something like that. And where's 3049 right here? I'm an idiot. It's 39. It's 4230. I don't know. Anyway. I didn't think this through. I didn't really fully words. Just, you know, like, I don't know. I'm sure there's a far better way of doing that, but I'll just roll with it. This is more what I meant to do. There. Say 10180, gotcha, from the top left. That's the part that matters. The rest is not a big deal. That's the part that specifically matters. What the? All right. Go off to selection, yes. Son of a bitch. There we go. Delightful. 10180. All of this literally just to confirm, but yeah, that looks about right. 10180, right there. That's the top left of the heart. And so that's what the top left of the heart would look like. And that's pretty accurate. This is perfect for the Y. It's a little off. Funnily enough, it's a little off for the Y. or for the X, but that actually is still explainable by simply understanding that, like, well, the list could be adjusting. We know that it's adjusting the width. It's possible that's happening too. I'm going to go ahead and say, at risk of maybe potentially causing problems in the future, but I'm going to say I think that is actually entirely correct. I don't think anything, we have no weird bugs or anything like going that. It is started at the exact top left of wherever you're drawing. So if you're at FA left, FA top, then they will start drawing from the exact same point. No adjustments needed. I do think we need to worry about that here, but for now, I'd like to create a duplicate of each of these because I do think I want to be able to reference the old one just in case. Even though it's no longer applicable, I do think it's important still. Anyhow, let's start here, I guess. So FA top, I think FA top makes the most sense from like an intuitive standpoint if it means the text is on top of the bar. So that's why we're going to make this to mean this should just be 0. Nothing happens. This should be, I want you to take this bar and I want you to push it down. Now, the question is, how much should it be pushed down is a legitimately good question. I don't actually know. That's harder to tell, to be honest. I think we could just swap these around for now. But that's because I think the reality is, I mean, the text size itself will adjust. Whatever this thing is tied to, whatever it might be, actually makes a very big difference. For now, we return 0. Don't do anything strange. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Again, part of this is just because the text itself is a scale that might line up decently with the bar. By the way, I think my next load of laundry is done and ready to go. Something like that. The text itself is something around like the space of 30 anyway. So the fact that this ends up being 24 total, right? That's a big deal. Also, for some reason, again, OBS lost the application, so just gotta hate myself there. But yeah, that's 30-ish. This is 24-ish, so they line up pretty decently. I think that's what's happening. If that's the case, then pushing it down 2.75 actually makes sense, because 24 times 2.75 ends up being 66, which is about double the text. And if it starts exactly where the text is, then that's more or less what you'd want it. Push it down twice whatever the text size is. Something to that extent. We do times 3, and then that ends up being a nice clean number. But my concern is that I don't think this will actually work in any situation. We kind of have to know where the coordinates are, right? Like, that's just the reality. We have to know what the coordinates actually end up being. And I'm not sure what the best way of handling that is. We need to know what the bottom is. And if we know what the bottom is, then it becomes really easy. But then that means we actually have to pass in the bottom. And that's just normally x2 for any situation. We're taking a very big risk if we do something like this. If we want this to truly be, you know, versatile for anything, then doing something like this, while it does work, if you don't have an x2, this is going to crash. Simple as. And that's no good. This is dangerous. But, you know, I mean, it does kind of work. And then at that point, we've got something to work with. That's pretty valuable. Because if we have a bottom, then from there we can just work with the bottom. So again, this is the offset though. So how could we use that actually? Because if we just grab that, this would be far too large of an offset. That's for damn sure. Well, I mean, again, I don't know if I even want to do this just yet, so let's not try to solve for something that might not work in the first place. That might just be too dangerous. For the middle, I think it would be something like bar height just times 1. And the bottom could maybe just be like bar height time, I don't know, times 2 or something like that. I'm gonna just try some of these, see how they look. Yep, that actually looks really good, actually. That's impressive. Looks good to me. The worst case is maybe something smaller, but honestly, I'll just leave it because it's easier. I like the cleaner number here. Freaking hoorah. That's probably about correct. For what we're looking for, I think that does it. That's a decent alignment system, so long as we're only working with text. And I do not like how explicit that ends up being. That's really specific. I feel like that's going to cause us problems in the future, to be honest. I mean, right away, we just moved this from top to middle now, right? So this is the original one, and I think by doing that, it immediately breaks it because now it's too large of a jump. That's really bad, man. That's so bad. Jeez. My God. Okay. Well, anyway, I got some laundry to do, so I'll take care of that real quick. All right, sounds good. Just a sec. And we're back, baby. Oof. We're back in there. All right. So, where exactly was I? Okay. Right. With this. I think we need some context. I don't know exactly how we should get that context, but we need it. There's no way to reasonably get any kind of offset adjustment without that context first. Now, with that in mind, there's a thought. The thought is we do not adjust this immediately. Or maybe, here's what I'm thinking. Bar align offset equals this. So similarly to this thing, just becomes a 0, just becomes a 1. And this is something, we call these functions directly. These are things that we set directly. So let's pull those out of the bar functionality. We can call these and adjust these, and they normally just end up being 0, 0 if you don't do anything like this. But if you want to use these, you basically then have to go in and say, okay, well, what is my bottom, what is my left, what is my right, etc. Right? That's what has to happen here, I think. Now, first of all, no, I think that probably makes the most sense. For now, I'm going to go ahead and just comment all of that out entirely. I want all of this commented out. We're just going to not use any of it for now. What happened? Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Some things weren't commented out. Just cut all that crap. If we turn on hitboxes, we'll notice immediately we have something to work with here. It's not like we're completely in the dark. And I do believe even in the cases where we have this, well, the hitbox is turned on, unfortunately. If we turn that off, what if we just turn that off and just make that impossible? And just temporarily. And there you have it, right? So this right here is a big deal. If you have, yeah, this is easy to use. So that yeah. If words could come out of my mouth, but basically, I think the smart way of handling this, the easiest way of handling this, will just be you pass in whatever object uses this will pass in and handle passing in the bottom and top. So I think for this one, it'll just be bottom, top, and then element equals ID. Param, real, bottom, top. I think that should do it. There. Bar set v align. Better you water. Now, I don't think we actually need to use this. I kind of wonder if maybe, I guess maybe for saving for the future, but honestly, I'm wondering if maybe that's the correct choice. Of course, we already have this function set up in another place, don't we? So maybe that's the correct choice here. We drop all the way down to here. Oh boy, that's a lot of stuff, but this becomes the new thing. Bar set v align. I just realized that this is scale instead of H align. That's a little bit odd, don't you think? Anyway, that's probably gonna change almost immediately, but good to at least check. Yeah, this is valuable though to just see real quick. ID instance. Boom. All right. 0 to 1 is not 0 to 1. It's FA, although that's not entirely, well, whatever. That's not actually a thing, but I don't want to say real because that doesn't give nearly enough information. Okay. Normally this is where we set v-line, but personally I feel like this matters a lot more. Now, this is important to understand, to be fair. We have bottom, we've got top. That's cool, that's interesting. But we still have to actually be able to adjust with those things. So what I need to figure out right now is how to work with that. You gave me that v-line. That problem's more or less solved. I'm not necessarily going to set this, actually. I don't know if it's necessary. I don't know. Like, saving this for later might be kind of cool, but I kind of feel like it's not even going to be helpful even if you get that, because this is something that basically has to be updated every single time. If ever you move things, and I mean like the hitbox scale, it's like you're going to have to just readjust this. I don't think there's any other way to get around that. We can get the bounds of our current bar as is. I guess that's the best way to do it, right? Because all we're doing is we're moving the bar around. We're just moving the XY position. So if I do var bounds equals bar get bounds for this instance, I now have an x1, y1, etc., etc. This is the bar itself. This is where the bar is sitting itself. Got it. If that's the case, then all we have to do is take the bottom, for instance. If it's FA top, we'd want to pull out this idea, right? This is where you're at, or rather this is where the text is at. That's where we start. And we're drawing it here. We can get these positions, by the way. We can get all 4 of these positions, wherever the bar might be. We get the bottom right here. We want to move these down. So take whatever x1 is. So it'd be this minus y1. That's pretty much what that ends up being. So it should be bar height, maybe? For now, it'll just be bottom minus bar minus bounds 1. I think that'll do it. Middle should just be the average between bottom and top. And bottom should be top, whatever it should be the other way around. This minus the top. That's my understanding of it. So that's it, really. If we go into game controller, right here, you could just do something like this. Bar set v-align, and then for set v-align, it's the actual v-align itself. We do FA top, and then we need the bottom and the top. That's where things get really complicated, huh? Son of a bitch. There's no easy way for this. I do believe that's what we have to do. That's not fun. But I think that'll work. Okay. Take a screenshot because, boy oh boy, not what we expected here. If we reset by commenting that out, what happens? That's the first step. We have to figure out, oh, I see what happened. Yeah, of course nothing's happening. Good to know. Because we're just returning this value. We're not actually doing anything with it. It really needs to be instance.bar align offset 1 is equal to this. That's how this is supposed to work. There we are. I'm gonna go ahead and put that there so it's even. By the way, then break now because we're not returning anything. That's why. We're not returning anything. We're not doing anything with that. We don't want it. Not a big deal. Okay, now nothing happened. Good. Glad to hear it. We already checked that this instance doesn't exist, or it does exist, so if we're even in here in the first place. Actually, that is something worth checking, ain't it? Are we even in here in the first place? I really don't want to use a debug if I can help it. We're not. That's really interesting. I wonder why not. Or are we and we didn't check enough? Nope, definitely not. Just didn't show up. Well, I mean, oh, because we're not calling it anymore. Oh my gosh, I'm so stupid. Like, wow, I don't understand. Why aren't we calling it? We don't get it. Like, oh, I don't know. It's like a wild guess. Okay, there you go. Yeah, that works. Just like that. You actually pay attention to what's happening, and it makes perfect sense. It's lined up directly right now. So all that really needs to happen at that point now is we just need to do a small adjustment. I do think this is now becoming long enough where it's like, okay, we actually need to do something. Because this is actually like, this is pretty hefty. So far as line length is going. I like to make things low on lines if possible. Unless it becomes just objectively harder to read, in which case it's just not worth it anymore. I think the best choice here might actually be to move this down below. I think I'm going to cut this now. I don't think we need that anymore. I think we kind of got the idea. Is equal to value, I guess, for now. Let me just have var value is equal to this. So bottom minus bounds, and then I think we would want to add bar get scale. We want that offset is the thing. For the middle, we don't need to change a single thing, I think. We're going to have to test that one by one, I suppose, right? There's no better way of doing that. But I think that's the thing. We want it because the actual points are the inner bar. The outer bar is surrounded. This is easiest to tell around here. You can tell that the red box is the hitbox inside this bar right here. The outer rim is not included in that. So we want this to be right lined up with that on the outer rim. It's 1 pixel off. That's not a big enough deal for me. I don't care. It's 1 pixel off. Whatever. There's a lot of reasons why that could be. It could literally be a rounding error. I've already run into that once before. Like as it is right now, you can actually tell if you look really closely. If we go and expand this. Whoops, not that. There you go. If we go and expand this, you'll literally see that it's just a rounding error with drawing. This is 5 pixels tall. This is 6 pixels. It's 7 pixels tall. Why is that happening? Because this Y position is probably just on a half coordinate. So normally what should happen is this should normally just be like this. That's how this actually should look. It should be 6 pixels each. The fact that it's 7 and 5 is not actually any bug. It's just because the game's trying to draw a half pixel and doesn't know what to do. And so you can literally see that the top bar just looks a lot bigger than it's supposed to. If we actually like move this around, it will end up fixing itself at some point. I guess it doesn't move y-axis enough. We don't have quite as much adjustment needed. Yeah, there you go. Right there is actually clean, or it fixes that for some of them. It's just what happens with rounding errors and pixel art. It's a little bit odd. But anyway, that looks good. To me, that looks good. To me, that looks like what you want. We swap to bottom. That's the other big one to check. I do believe this should be minus. I'm going to find out real soon, though. It does look like that, yes. This is, aha, because of this thing. So from here now, we actually want to add in the bar height. That's good too. We want to subtract by the bar width, or by the bar scale, and then subtract by the bar height. Bar get height instance should be fine. And then for the middle, let me just double check that that's actually correct. Yep, looks good to me. Are we 100% positive about this? Wait, hang on now. What happened? That's actually not correct. That's not correct at all. Am I going crazy or what? What just happened? Why are these exactly the same now? Whoa. That should be bottom, which means, what did I do wrong? Take Y2. We're supposed to take the bottom piece. These should all be, like, this is almost correct. It should just be the health bars up here instead. So what did we do wrong? Probably with these pieces, right? Somewhere along the line we screwed it up. But where, when, and how? What the frick? What the flip, dude? Bro, what the flip? What the flip is this? I can like peek out from behind like, oh, hello. Hello. Secret coding going on here. Secrets. Yeah, I don't know. This got weird fast. So it looks like something's real strange has happened. We're like way off. So let me rethink how the bottom's supposed to. Well, I guess in the meantime, I can at least see if the middle's working, and maybe this is just a bottom only issue. That could be useful to know. That's what middle looks like. Just taking the average between the two. And so with that in mind, because it's the top bar that gets used here, right, in this particular space. What would this end up being? Basically, we don't want to move this upward. We want to move this upward because it's getting drawn right at that top left corner, right in this middle sort of section. What would we want this? We would want this to be drawn half the bar width higher. Is that right? Is that what we want? Minus bar get height times 0.5. If this ends up breaking again, I'm going to be very confused. It looks better. Excuse me. We're going to get really anal about this. About 5 pixels down. 16 pixels there. So if we wanted this to be perfect, we could do like 10 pixels here. Another 10 pixels there. What am I talking about? Wait, what? What did I just say? It's 16 pixels 5. So that means that if we take 5 down from there, add then, that's about, yeah. So it's about like 5 or 6-ish pixels off, depending on how you look at it. I forget if these things, the border box itself is 1 pixel off because it has to be, which I don't feel like explaining why, but basically 16, 5, if this became 10 and this became 11, that basically is right. So that means we need to adjust, probably it's bar scale again, honestly. Subtract by bar scale. I don't think subtracting by the height is a good idea here. But I don't know for sure. Do we just subtract by the height entirely, or do we just subtract by the bar scale? I think it's just by the bar scale. I think that's the correct way to handle that. It happens to be right only because the height itself is kind of like deterministic, I guess. Like we already know what the height's going to be, so I guess maybe something that'd be kind of fun. Let's do this. Bar set height. This is actually probably a good idea. Random range. Well, we'll do random range to not completely break my brain a little bit. We'll do a low of 6 and a high of 18. That seems reasonable. For each bar, just randomly adjust that height, and if we can make these work despite that, then that means we're actually on the right place now. This looks pretty good to me so far. This one, really interesting. Let me take a quick screenshot just to make sure. So we're going to flip over after this. We're going to flip over and do it this way, just the height in general. I'm going to widen the range a little bit. Because the tiny one looked like it was a little bit too tiny, to be honest. Interesting. So this really fat one right here. Actually, I just realized let's not use random here. We can literally just use I times 6. Boom, problem solved. We'll do like 6 plus that. That's even better, so that we literally can just get all the sizes immediately. It's pretty nice. There you go. So a super tiny one is too far up. What does this imply then? We're trying to figure that out. That's the important piece. We're trying to figure that out. Well, for now, let's just try both versions, right? So it seems like it got too big, whatever. Now we will just simply comment that out. Do this in ×2. Because at the original version, this would be identical. The height is just the scale ×2, kind of, with like a little bit of extra, with like a minor amount of extra adjustment. So the difference between these two is surprisingly minimal, to a point that it's concerning, because actually, as it turns out, we need to adjust the height first before we do anything else, and that's the actual problem here. So as it turns out, it's not really concerning at all. I'm just bad. I'm just a skill issue right now. We're gonna have to fucking pump up these numbers, baby. Okay, so this is too high, middle, too low. And theoretically, if we just do bar get height, I think that should fix it. It's the same thing we saw every time. That's what happens when you just do a scalar. And now it's pretty much just right. The middle, too far, too far. So I think I was actually right the first time. I think I was right. Yeah. You want to do one instance of the scale and then half the height. Which makes sense, because if it's in the middle, you would want to use half the height, whatever that ends up being, but then you still have to adjust for the scale. The scale being this little edge piece. And now this looks pretty. Let's take, yeah, this looks really, really close. There's one last thing I want to check, because I have a theory. That's 4 and 5. That's 7 and 8. 11 and 10. 13 and 14. Yep, I think it's perfect. Again, these are 1 pixel off, so all these are perfect. I wanted to check and see if maybe this needed to be 0.5 as well, but yeah, I think this one's good to go. So with that in mind, I'm thinking I'm going to go ahead and just get this right now. Height is equal to bar get height, because this actually feels like it's pretty commonly necessary. Just to try to make this a little bit easier to read and understand, because, boy, that's a lot. It's a lot of stuff to consider. The average between top and bottom. That's actually another thing that probably needs to be swapped around just real quick. Just gonna swap that, because X1 or Y1 always comes before Y2 in every other function, so it's good to maintain that because it's easier to understand. I'm gonna go ahead and fully just commit to getting rid of this. Don't think we need it. I don't think we really do anything with it. I think get VLine. Nah. I don't want you accessing these, to be honest. I'm going to go ahead and just say that right now. I think because we've changed how this works, you know what I mean? That's the difference. We've just changed how it works. And so I no longer want you to actually have access to these. These should now be private. This is a private little system. It's just you set this, and it's a fire and forget. You should not be able to get this information, because this information isn't supposed to be useful for you. Okay, now, by the way, bounds should also be underscored. All right, so we know top works fine. Also might grab this too. Just nice to get all this stuff out here. I don't think we need the brackets here. There's not that much going on. Also, for the sake of just being nicer to look at for me. Because I like it when things are the same length. Now, if we grab this thing, this is Y2. Which means this is the bottom of the bar. If we want this thing on the bottom, that would mean the text... Oh, see, we're also changing the rules a little bit, aren't we? Probably should be the other way around. Middle is still fine, but actually, now that I think about it, this should probably be like this, and this should probably be like this. The reason why I did it this way was because it was in relation to the text. So you would set the alignment and go, okay, where do you want the text to be in relation to the bar? But that's not how this works anymore. It is now just the text position, which means if I say FA top, that says I want the bar to be on top. If I say FA bottom, I want the bar to be on the bottom. This is moving the bar, so I think I'm going to swap those. I feel like that makes a lot more sense. This should imply I want the bar to be on the bottom. I want it to be below, and that's why this works. So if I want the bar to be on top, then I should take the top of this thing, and then I think, yeah, the bottom of the bar. We want to move the bottom of the bar to the top. How do we do that? We take wherever the top is. If we have a small little thing here. What the? We've got, again, we got text. We've got a bar. We know where the top is, right here. We want to take this bar. We want to move it up here. So we want something that's negative, actually. We want a negative value. And we probably want to do it by taking this point right here and seeing how much larger it is here. This value, we want to take this and move it all the way up here. So that bottom value, probably we weren't actually that wrong. We just didn't, we forgot to make this, properly negative. So I'm going to double check this. We didn't do anything with the middle. It should be fine. But I'm going to double check that bottom works as intended now, the new intention. And it does. It works perfectly fine. I will continue to keep the heights the way they are because that's still really good actually for us. Lets us know exactly what we're up to. This still works exactly as intended. Placing that bar right underneath. And now we can go ahead and see where we're placing things after the fact. Ow. Oof. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Just need to rise it by scale once and I think we're good to go. Yeah, looks good to me. That's pretty much exactly what I want. That probably exactly that words just kind of fumbled together there, but looks pretty good. Yeah, all right. I don't see any issue with this. Now, again, this is all, not the best that I have to do like a for loop here. That's maybe more concerning, to be honest. But again, I have to figure out, that's something else to figure out. The system itself works. That's the important part. It works very nicely, actually. And then because I'm weird, I'm going to go ahead and do this whole thing again anyway. But you know what? Yeah, because I just saw that these lined up so perfectly. I'm like, come on. Every time something like this happens, I just have to. I have to try. Yeah, that's pretty good. This works pretty good. Now, if we just take this and just copy and paste it, what exactly is going to happen to us? Well, so this is the thing. It should be left and right. Oopsies. Now, sadly, there's no real easy thing here. This is, yeah, I don't know. There's no real easy solution. Like top and bot works real well, but left and right, there's not really any way to make these equivalent. We can change this into width, and this stays the same, and this would be the same. And then now we just need to make this H-line instead, and this needs to be 0 instead. And then again, this needs to be left, and then over here it's right and right. Width is down here. Scale remains the same. This would instead just be 0 and 2. And I think these actually could stay the same, but that's more confusing. So we won't do that. FA right and then FA center. And that is H-align. Now, with that in mind, it's not really, I don't know if that's actually accurate to what we're looking for, though, to be honest. See, this still works fine, but if we do H-align, I don't actually know what's going to happen when we change these. But we're going to give it a shot. By the way, we can completely cut this now entirely. It's no longer important. We've kind of committed to a system here. Just going to go ahead and make sure I'm actually committing all my stuff too. Is my source tree even going to show up here? Just because this might take a second and it's nicer to at least see stuff. There's a little something extra going on here. Line 34, for some reason, there's just a little extra tab. We can cut that. So yeah, no longer going to have these two. We're pulling alignment from a stored array instead. We've moved these away. Oh yeah, we commented that out. That's probably healthy for now. These are both just kind of debug stuffs anyway. I don't know if I want to commit this just yet, because this is also kind of debug. I'd rather find a more elegant solution. I feel like lists might just need to have their own, I don't know, something. So this should be like automated somehow. It's a little ridiculous to have to do that. Swap that. Right, we deleted get via line. We deleted get h line. I don't want you accessing those anymore, because you can't access those anymore. Instead, you have these. Looks good to me. All right, back we are. So this is what left looks like now, right? That's what left looks like. We have a small offset. It's not even that bad, to be honest. It's okay, though it's not ideal. It's a little far off, right? Just a little bit. Not really exactly what we wanted, but good to know. I could work with that. That's something where if that was how it worked, I think I could manage that, because all I'd really have to do is I would just have to move the list over to the left a little bit. You know, that's center. Oof, boy, that's getting bad fast, because notice that this actually ends up being, ooh boy. Okay, so this is the problem, right? Am I not showing this? Put this under there. Okay, so, you know, no. That's not good. See, I don't know if I want the left. I don't know if I want the horizontal to behave so differently, you know? And then that's right. So at the end of the day, this isn't really what we wanted. Make that one tinier. It makes sense because, again, the edge hitboxes are just straight up different, right? They kind of have that warble to them. So that's what the bars are following. So that makes sense. You know, that makes a lot of sense. Arguably, I suppose you could argue the first issue we have is maybe the list. We have a situation where most of the time the list will adjust the endpoints here. And it will actually just go ahead and, oh, you can't even see my mouse for some reason. Yeah, they'll adjust the endpoints and just pull them over to the edge. In fact, that's that weird bug you're seeing right now because, again, small context, spoilers, I guess, but there's been a bit of a menu rework. I'm sure you've noticed if you've been watching this. These aren't really, done yet, but you can kind of notice that they all line up perfectly. More generally, for one of the more finished menus, this is what it actually ends up looking like, right? The hitbox extends all the way to the edge of whatever list we're working with. So anyway, the point is, these don't work that way because they're old as shit. And this whole entire thing is kind of a little bit bugged because it's operating on very old software at this point. It's kind of been completely readjusted anyway. So what does this mean? Basically, this means that we either need to commit to the new rules and adjust things to fix that. Though to be fair, even if we fix the warble that's happening, or these are lined up perfectly and these are no longer lined up perfectly, that still doesn't actually fix the problem at the end of the day because these still don't really do anything, right? FA left is fine enough. It almost lines up with the left side of the thing, of the list, whatever you call it. Text, it's just a little bit off. Not terribly so, but enough that it's annoying. The right side doesn't even do anything because theoretically FA right, which is this one, it should probably just be over here, right? So that's the first step is what's going on there. It would make more sense if this was just all the way over, if each bar was just, like this. That's what right would mean to me, I guess maybe this is an orientation issue, though, if you really think about it. Because at the end of the day, I guess it's a question of how much versatility we want to build into this thing, right? That's the big question we need to ask. How much versatility? For Dark Egg, at the end of the day, we only need bars that do this and maybe a bar that does this. Like, that's it. And both of those are currently possible because the way it works is we have an X, Y, and then we have a width that comes out like this. And then, again, we've got a Y, and then we have a height that comes down like this. That's it. That's how it works. But I suppose what we're actually seeing right now is we're seeing the consequences of something of, well, what if you wanted a bar that was locked onto here, right? And went down like this instead. If you wanted a right-facing bar instead for some reason, if that was your goal, this is not possible with the current system. There's no way to do that. Do we want to build anything like that? I don't actually know. But yeah, currently the reason why this doesn't work that way is because, well, like that just, it's half the bar. Moving it all the way over here would be kind of strange, I guess. Or I can word this better. Basically, it's because we have the assumption that we're always going to be doing it like this. The bar is always going to be going, down with time towards the left, right? It's because of that assumption that this doesn't make sense, right? If we moved it all the way over here, now it does make sense. The difference is if we moved it all the way over here and then suddenly it does this, that's what doesn't make any sense anymore. Now it's weird and bizarre. It's like, wait, what? Right? Like, why, how, huh? So if we just operate on that assumption and go, well, you know what? Yeah, this is just how bars work. I'm not going to adjust that. If that's what we want to do, that's fine. We can just take this and move it over all the way. Problem solved. No biggies, right? But we have to make that commitment. And if we do that commitment, then we've basically completely removed the ability to do this with it, without having to rework the system, because this will require a lot of hard coding in special cases unless we build our bar system that we're currently working on with that capability in mind in the first place. So, all that to really say, I guess this is where, we have to decide how much of this. For Dark Egg, we don't need any of that. Do I think in the future I will need that kind of functionality? One good rule of thumb I've learned is never to build functionality for things that don't exist yet. So, while I don't fully follow that all the time, because I think in some cases that might not be smart, sometimes it's good to give yourselves a lot of tools, especially if you think like, well, I might use these soon, though. In this case, I don't see a single situation for Dark Egg where we'll ever want to do that, and we couldn't do it the other way. And so rather than designing for future games that might not even exist theoretically, we will just go ahead and commit. And if we ever decide we need to rework this system, well, then we rework the system then, right? The whole point is that this thing is meant to be, offloaded away from Dark Egg very easily. And currently, I still think that's pretty true. It's a very, very versatile system that, as long as you have like a coordinate that you give it at all, like a lot of this stuff is very, very versatile. Anyway, so I guess that's just like freaking coding philosophy or something. But basically, that's just the gist. For FA right, probably what needs to happen is we just need to add the width then. Because it's always going to be leftmost, so we need to make sure this thing's all the way onto the right side of it. Maybe. Perhaps not, though, because perhaps instead we actually need might actually be this. It might actually be the scale of the passing instance itself. That looks closer. It's still not correct, though, That's still odd. I wonder why not. How far off are we at this point? Is there any clues here? About 60 pixels off, give or take. 60 pixels from here to here. Oh, I should check all of these. Let's move that around. Are all these consistent? No, they aren't. Now that's interesting. These are not consistent. This is 60 pixels off. This is 71 pixels off. This is only 50 pixels off. I don't know why that is. I'm going to be honest, not entirely sure. Also, the width in general is just like it seems like it's way tinier. Whoopsies. How big are these bars? Reason to believe we have a bar that's about 130 pixels. No, 254 pixels, give or take. Something like that, 254 pixels across. So if I print the width, I should get something close to that. Because that's my thought. That's my thought of what might be happening right now. Some very strange situation where the width is not actually the width. It says -36. That's, gotta be honest, that's not right. That's not correct. That is not what I expected you to be. That's really interesting. What's the height then? I mean, my goodness. The height is correct. How is the width -36? How what? 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 Huh? I'm very confused now. I have no clue. Okay, first of all, let me just comment these out just in case. But what? I think I just heard my laundry again. Okay, yeah, so this is just because we're now using a much smaller everything. So I truly have no idea. But to be fair, talking in a list now, theoretically, list rules are list rules, and they are using slightly different things because the list is adjusting the element. This is getting so messy. This is what happens with a big project. I mean, this is pretty foundational. We're literally reworking one of the very first things that exists, and unfortunately, it's like a little disease, you know? It's just, it was bad coding, and unfortunately that bad coding is spread across the entire project. So it's everywhere, baby. It would be right here, right? This is where we're doing bar set width. So by that extent, then bar set H align should happen right here. And if that's the case, then this actually kind of simplifies a little bit, actually. Though again, FA right, but you know, whatever, just roll with it for now. And to some degree, I guess part of the align. I guess so. Like if there was actually like a best place to do it, this would be it, right? Don't set it there, set it here. This is when we actually do stuff. Bottom would be correct. Right? Like that's, wow, what a bizarre thing to look at right now. There's a lot happening that I'm not entirely certain about. We can go back and probably bring back at least the base height, right? I mean, my goodness, it is hard to look at. What a mess. Okay. Baby. I have no clue. I have literally no clue. You know, in my mind, I'm like, that's it. I got it. No, you, what? None of this makes sense. I'm even more confused now. We wrote a B somewhere, by the way. Frickin' B. Where? Draws the. Yeah. There's a little B in there. Oh, you couldn't even see that. Well, no, don't worry about it. Scale plus width. Okay, right. So that's on something. Right, that's where we are. I'm just getting all mixed up. Let's see. How long have we been doing this? Because I have to, again, I gotta go get laundry again. That would be another half hour, and then since then that was, what, another half hour? It's almost 8:45. That would be a full hour and 5 minutes then. So if I pull down, I have a little more time. Spent a little more time today. But maybe if I can figure out all of this. I'm gonna do my laundry. I'll come back soon. And then maybe if I figure out this problem, that might be it for today, I guess. Perhaps. We'll see. Never mind. The washer's done, but the dryer is not, so just hang out there, I guess. Okay. Width, height. Cut those two away. Actually, why? Why would I do that? We don't need to do, we can cut that one away, but we shouldn't do that for width. I need to figure out what's going on. So it's a little too early for that. Don't know. 242. Sounds good. Yep, they're all the same. So the width is correct. That's going well. Ooh, about to sneeze. Oh no, it's one of those weird sneezes where it's like, oh, you feel it, you gotta do it, but like it's not gonna happen. So now it's just, ugh. Anyway, so we're setting the width proper. That's good. We're setting H align proper, I guess. I'm really not sure what's happening with that. We should be setting X2 somewhat correctly. What the hell is happening? It's off in every possible way you can imagine right now. What? What is that? What is this? How? Huh? Everything's off about it. Bro, what's going on? Ugh. All right, well, at risk of crashing, let's just give this a shot. It's the best we got. The X1 should not be different for any of these, though. That's very strange to me. Oh boy. Unable to evaluate. This is a damn shame. I don't know why. Just because it's not a local variable? What do you mean unable to evaluate? You literally just evaluated it. It's literally right here. I have no clue, dude. We have top, we have bottom. I think I'm going to let these load first. And then do that. We know width minus scale. Really? Well, whatever works. Because I just figured that out recently anyway. 248 by 6. So we set the width to 242 is what we're feeling. That's the baseline. Got it. Sounds good. And the V-align's broken too, to be fair. That's important. The V-align's broken too. But I want to check out this specifically first. Bar check first. We've got bounds. We've got the width of 242. We've got the scale of 6. Bounds looks like this. Oh, we have 5 things in bounds. That's not something I knew we did. Huh? And we crashed immediately. But that's not something I knew happened. That's not supposed to happen. It's supposed to, by the way, that's why too. It's supposed to be. Wait, what? Oh, wait, what? Okay. Oh boy. Something like that, yeah. Coordinate is this. Please don't crash on me, I swear to Christ. Please. These are your 4. It should delete negative 20 and 18. It only deleted 1 of them. Well, at the very least, this shouldn't be causing problems. But that's just a lie. The documentation literally says the number is how many times it'll delete something. If you start at -1, like, let me just, it says literally right here, Deleting the last 3 elements. It's -3. It's -3. All right, well, I'm the idiot then. But that's weird. I'm not going to lie. Come on, give me a break with that. Brother. Well, whatever. We got it at least. Never mind. I'm the idiot. I read too fast. Yeah, again, that doesn't actually fix the issue, but that is a funny bug. I didn't even realize that was in there. It's just we don't. The only reason we do that is because we don't want the last two. The last 2 values are for something entirely different. But it's way easier just to repeat using the coordinate function, so that's why we do that. And just to make sure, because the first 4 values are the ones that actually matter. So I think in every case I've just ignored this. If I just do this, this could be the easiest if we just do it this way, where we just start with the left and then the right and then the width might be... I mean, I don't know. But if we're in here in the first place, that means we actually have a bar. And rather than using the debugger that crashes 24/7, I'd rather just use print statements if I can, because it's faster and, you know, it's guaranteed that if we're in here that we're working with a bar in the first place anyway. So we've got something. I'm not sure why my version didn't pop up, but here we are. Same as always. Got a lot to work with here. We'll use this. We'll click this real quick. Get a bunch of values. Probably a lot of repeats. Boy, oh boy. Does this look correct? It do. So I'm going to take a wild... Oops, by the way, let me minimize this. Take a wild guess that out of all these values that are being printed every step, I believe these 4 are the only ones that matter. Probably top, you know, from top to bottom. That's probably how that works. Probably. I don't know. Guess it doesn't really matter that much anyway. What's interesting is that they all have the same left coordinate, technically. Supposed to, anyway. They do not have the same right coordinate. That's what's happening here. Oh, okay. Maybe we get into somewhere, because look at that, right? That's your right. It mimics this. 242. That's your width. So get a little bit more clear of what's happening now. Basically, nothing's wrong with the left coordinate, I don't think. Delete both of these. I don't think we need them anymore. I have an idea. Okay, so again, I don't know why the width is failing as hard as it is right now to adjust. It feels like it should be doing a lot more work than it currently is. Doesn't that sound familiar? But here's the deal. I believe what's happening is we are taking... Do I still have this thing open? Yeah, I do. We're taking this. Remember that this is the XY position. So we're looking at this and we're going, okay, well, this is the right for this one. Oh, this is the right for that one. Well, let me push this up, right? This is lining up. The edge of this is lining up close to where this is. It's not perfect, which is why I'm still kind of confused as to what's going on here. But it is closer and makes more sense because these do seem to line up with what we're looking for here, right? At the end of the day, this thing... what would be the correct way of handling it? It's like something like that, you know? It's like 2 pixels away from the bottom. This one suddenly becomes a huge difference. It's 12 pixels this way instead. Oh, why is this thing still showing above? This thing's 12 pixels this way. This thing's 2 pixels this way. This thing's 36 pixels total. So that means there's still 22 pixels that are not being accounted for. But Even on that note, it still does at least follow. The one that is furthest to the right is the one that is getting pushed furthest to the right. These two are smaller, so they get pushed left. These get pushed right again. Does this line up? It does. Does this line up? It does. Very interesting, actually. It's pretty interesting. Wonder if there's anything we can use with that. But for now, minimize that. Minimize this too. That's really interesting. If they all have slightly different coordinates, then why in the world would they ever line up? They shouldn't, really. I guess it's honestly anyone's guess. Okay, well, first of all, let's just see what happens when we do like ×5 with. That's my first guess. That's my first thing I want to see is what happens when I do that. Does anything happen? Is it cool? Was it bad? Whatever. Nothing. Pretty much nothing. Which leads me to believe that this is not really doing what we think it's doing, right? That's step one. I don't know why it's not doing that, mind you. I should make sure that we're not doing anything else here. Oh, well, we're not doing right, that's why. That actually is another piece of information that I forgot about while we had swapped back to left. Yeah, that's still not really correct at all, is it? But, you know, it's better. If we want the bar to be on the right, then we should take, it should be whatever the right side is, minus the first side. Plus the scale, plus your width times like, again, 5 I think is the easiest way to tell what might be happening as best as we can. But like nothing happens. So bizarre, so strange. Very odd. Very, very odd. That should just be a lot larger, you know? That should be a much larger change. And for now, we'll just ignore it. If I do center. Interesting. I feel like this could be better served if it was just like this, to be honest. I don't know if I'm just going cool. Yo, look at that. That's weird to look at. Now that's interesting. They finally line up here because I think that's when they finally end up being the same length. So again, EP pushes it out. We know something like that's going on, at least. That's good to know, but I just don't get why it would be happening here. If I ignore this, right, if I just like don't do that, do we still get that problem? Is that just like an inbuilt problem that we need to solve, or is it because of this? It's because of that. So that's what's so confusing about it. It's like, dude, what? I don't understand what you could be, like, what would you be doing? What are you doing that would cause that to happen? Especially if it's FA left, right? We pass in an H line of FA left. The value I get is like, what, 2 minus the bounds? The bounds of the bar itself? Just for the sake of argument, we could just say bounds 2 is equal to left. What this would do is this would make it 0. This minus this ends up being 0, then just its minus scale, right? That's the simplest solution we can come up with for now. That does work. I guess if we really think about it, right, it should just be whatever. Or am I the idiot? Doesn't this need to be the other way around? Is that why we screwed this up? 0, 2? Did I get strange and confused? Does seem to suggest that maybe I did. But then did I? I don't know, man. This is getting weird fast. Didn't we already solve all this? What are we saying down here? We're saying, you know, you want the bar to be on top. Got it. So take the top coordinate plus the bottom coordinate. Yeah. So that's what's happening here. If we want the bar to be on the left side says basically don't do anything, really. Right? Right side says move it all the way over. Right? Like this is pretty much, that's more or less what is supposed to be happening, I think. And then center says some kind of weird in between the two. I think. That does seem to check out. Lines up pretty well. Maybe, well, I remember this was 8 pixels, so I suppose we should try to line it up with what it used to be. The list was about 8 pixels away from the edge, so if this is 14 pixels, then arguably the problem is that it should just be 0. And that would make it line up exactly with how it's supposed to, which is not wrong, really. At the end of the day, it's not really wrong. Yeah, that's what left would look like. It just lines right up because, again, we're working on the assumption that the bar will always go from, you know, right to left like this. So if that always happens, then it always makes sense that, yeah, this is just what left looks like. We could maybe make a rule where left ends up being quite literally like the right side of the bar is here. You know, something like, you know. Take this thing, boop, right? We could make it like that. Maybe I move this around so it's easier to tell. If that's what left means, and then this is what right means, you get what I'm saying? That's what the bar being to the left means. That's what the bar being to the right means. And then we could say maybe this is what being in the middle means. Because you're right in the middle. So I don't know if I mind that. It's not a bad idea. But for now, we'll say that's what left is. Seems reasonable enough. Okay, that's better. Yeah, that actually that actually looks good. Now, funnily enough, it's ignoring this piece, but, you know, hey, that's something entirely different. Was there some kind of order of operations things going on here? Because this don't look right anyway. Again, if we take the right side of this thing, but I feel like we almost want to take it minus the left side. Or we take this. We want it to be on the edge of the right side. So we want to see the difference between the right side and the first original side. Yeah, but that breaks it somehow. I don't really get why. We got a bar. We got the text. I don't understand why this window never is able to capture itself until I come back and reset it every single time. I don't get why that's a problem. We've got our 4 coordinates. If we want this to be here, we've already got this thing. We just need to move the x coordinate over here. That's it. If it's 0, it's already lined up. So it should just be whatever the right coordinate is minus the left coordinate. Again, that literally just makes sense. It's the right coordinate, x2. This is like 500 or something. Then subtract whatever this is, 100. You get 400 total. So then just add that to the y coordinate. That's literally what we have. I don't get why this doesn't work. I don't understand. Like, that's just math, baby. Like, what's the problem? Am I swapped? Is this the wrong bounds? What is happening that is making this not work? There must be some mistake I'm making somewhere. But I have no clue what it is and why it doesn't work specifically here. It's driving me crazy. Okay, these are the 242s, 292s. Wasn't it well, whatever. If the right side was at 116 and the bounds was at 292, why would the bound 0 be at 292? All right, let's just do that. There we go. Got some of these going. Okay. My mic got in a weird angle. Right, so this is the right position. Fair, fine, no problems. This is the bounds position, 0. So this is the problem. I don't understand what's happening here. This is our x1 apparently. Why is it huge? This is huge. This is absolutely massive. Why is it so big? What? Where did that come from? In what world? I mean, that's right. I mean, that's the problem right there. Yeah, that absolutely is the problem right there. That doesn't make any sense. That literally doesn't make any sense. When was this ever decided? When did the bounds change so much? That was way too much. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. What is this? They're just flying around, dude. Is this the game? Is this it? Is this what Dark Egg has turned into? This is it. This is what we've become. I don't even know what this is anymore. Some kind of insane version of Pong. All right. All right. I truly have no clue. I truly have no clue. Holy cow. All right. Well, I have a thought. I set them down here. Okay. We have we've got a thought. And the thought is, I think it's some kind of recursion going on here. And I'm not going to think about it too hard. We're just going to try this. We only call this in a couple of places. We have it actually here. We call it here. And then specifically, we call it when we're trying to get the bounds. If we're using the bounds to determine what the bounds are supposed to be, that's going to break probably. So instead, what we're going to do is we're actually just going to make a small adjustment here, maybe. And we're just gonna mess with this here, maybe. Now, I need to think a little bit just to make sure, but basically the idea will be we just do that. Got this. We grab the coordinates, great. It could just be coordinate 0 plus equals this. That'll work delightfully. No problems there. These guys will love that. These are also fine, but we also will have to take these and add them as well. That's 2 and that's 3. Also will have to get added to. That's not ideal. And then the percentage. All of these have to get added to. So that's not really ideal, is it? That's a lot. That's a lot of work. But if this works, we will know in the first place, and then we can come up with a better solution. I mean, it certainly isn't oh boy. It certainly isn't going crazy anymore. I don't actually know now. Gonna be honest, I don't remember if this was showing or not. So just for argument's sake, just in case, I would like to ensure that this got caught on stream because I was not paying close enough attention and it might have gotten missed, and I think that would just be very upsetting if that's the case. Because this was something special to witness. Okay, so first of all, obviously no. Second of all, though, is a lot of that. Oh boy, is a lot of that. Just a lot of things happening in rapid succession. So I won't comment. We're just gonna move on. Pulling this out seemed to fix that, and I think instead. We're just going to make an easy argument here. It's going to be include alignment equals false. Actually equals true by default. Why is this so slow? There. Now, if this is off, those just won't be added in the first place. Bar gets coordinates. There you go. Right here. Right now, this is true. I need you to include those. But for the bounds, I think it's probably better. Boy, oh boy. I guess that would just be part of the by the way, parameter. Okay. Should that be false? It's a pretty big adjustment, to be honest. It's a pretty big deal. I guess it needs to be something that you just are going to, yeah, include alignment equals true by default. But in most cases, I don't think you'd want to actually change that. I think this is literally just a single case right here. We just very specifically do not want to include it here. And it's still more of a pain, I think, in trying to like copy the code and recreate it again. So that's my thought. That should maintain everything we've found so far, by the way. you go. Looks delightful. Looks delightful. No problems, whatever. Now it's just too far to the left. And so now if we do this, again, maybe it fixes itself. Maybe. Again, I'm not entirely sure. I now have an idea of why the bounds suddenly got massive, but I still don't fully... Okay, yep. Oops. All right. Yeah, that looks better. That looks more like it. That's much closer to what I wanted. You know, it should be far over to the right. So if that's how that goes, that finally seems to seal the deal. We really shouldn't be having to deal with the width at all in the first place. So that explains why that happened in that way in the first place. There you go. See, that actually lines up perfectly, if we're being honest. That's literally like, that's exactly what it should have been from the very beginning. We got it. We got it. So just move the scale over by 1 and we've got it done. It should be this minus this plus scale. And thankfully we are finally in the realm of sanity once more. So that's what it was. It was recursion going on in here that I have no clue. I'm not even going to try to figure out what was happening. It's insane. It was a lot, and we're just not going to worry about it. We've complicated the barget coordinate function, though, unfortunately. So, you know, for better or for worse, I would like to fix that at some point if possible, because I don't like having an argument that basically serves one purpose and one purpose only. That's really confusing. Any situation where that happens is a very confusing one, and I don't want to deal with it if possible. But this is what we have. So, anyhow, that is now perfectly lined up. It is beautiful. That's great. It's maybe a pixel off. Doesn't matter. Yeah, we don't care. We don't care about things that are that small. That's not really reasonable. That there's a million reasons why that could be a pixel off. So, not a problem. Left still works delightfully, exactly as you'd expect it to. Though to be fair, well, it's fine. Again, based on everything we've been doing until now, it arguably should just be negative scale. Right? But, you know, I think I'll do it for now, and then maybe I can go ahead and fully commit to it breaking rules. But yeah. I actually like that as being center, though, so I'm going to go ahead and swap that out again. That's what center looks like. And then I think left really should be minus width minus scale. Let's see how that goes. See how that does. And pretty much good to go. Minus width was good. Minus scale. Yep, I think that's actually identical to what it should be. I think that's pretty much right. Congrats. That's pretty good. There is one adjustment that needs to be had here that I didn't really think about fully. It's the fact that while we're using the X position, we probably should be using the left position. So in truth, it probably should be this. Left minus bounds first. Just to make sure we actually get, and if we're lucky, that just ends up basically being 0 is the idea. But we need to actually have something like that to work with. Let's start with something simpler first. Okay. So we've got something to work with here. because this right here is the edge of the bar, and it lines up pretty much identically with that. So that's pretty good to me. So this is what left should be then. 100 times out of 100. We've already kind of solved it, just like that. Center then should simply just be negative scale. And I do believe that is it. I do believe we're happy with that. Just don't change anything with center. And then for these two, boom. Now again, it is worth noting that, you know, the rules are just straight out different for, you know, H-line versus V-line, and that's not great. That's not great, but we're specifically understanding that, like, well, this is just how bars work. They work differently because of their orientation. And while this means that we've killed versatility potential, it also ends up being a bit easier to understand that way. I do believe we don't want to subtract this anymore. That's an easy fix here. Because if we are now going to be subtracting the bar scale in the first place, we don't actually want to do the global offset anymore. So that's the other reason why I suddenly decided, like, actually we should do minus scale and not just 0, because I think we already have weird adjustments anyway. Sometimes it can be hard to tell what to adjust for what, but that's 14. This is 8. This implies maybe we need to offer like 3 pixels over or something. But honestly, I mean, easy fix is just don't do -2, you know? All right, that's the easiest fix. Just move it over 2 pixels, and that pretty much solves it. Then it becomes 10 and 12, and I don't care anymore. Like, yeah, that looks about right. Sure. Though to be fair, I shouldn't be using this in the first place at all. So I'm just gonna go ahead and say 6 because that's not a bar offset. That's don't, you know, it's got nothing to do with that. Don't use. It's just a bad habit that I've had, but it shouldn't be using. Like, constants are a great thing, but you shouldn't use constants for things that they have nothing to do with, because then it just confuses the hell out of what's going on here. Anyway, this is fine, by the way, but the problem is, of course, we need to actually have some kind of setting for that. So that's kind of something entirely separate to worry about, honestly. I'll put it to do here. To do. Find a way to make this not forced. I think the easiest solution is that, well, I don't actually know what the easiest solution is, to be honest. We could go back to the old system where we actually have it adjusted in the bar. So bar set V-line would just say FA bottom, and you'd call it a day and you'd be done, right? And then we'd take that, and then we'd be able to call, this would be a separate function that we call directly. But the problem is the left and the right would not be guaranteed, right? Those are things that we actually have to update regularly. We don't know what those hitboxes are going to be any particular time. So we need some way to update these. This works because we're calling it in step whenever we update the list itself. But, you know, working with this, the easiest solution would just be to have the element itself have something that's like element v-align or something. That would be the easiest solution there. But that doesn't, it's not really the easiest solution at all, actually, because that becomes really specific now. That means that you need to have some way to like link up to that. We did already talk about having a coordinate function for alignment, though, so that could be just, that might just be what we have to do. Create a function that will look this up for you automatically, or something to that extent. Or just having a boundary function again, you know what I mean? You have to have a boundary function of some kind so I know where to put things. All of these are reasonable options. We will figure that out eventually. For now, we got a lot of good stuff. Let me just title this alignment functions. That's pretty much all we did. Oh, let me show you. Let me show this, by the way. So there's something on the screen that's changing. Bar now has alignment functions it can use, blah, blah. I believe, yeah, that's pretty much all this commit had to do. I believe that's everything. Yeah, that's good. Sounds solid. Okay, now my laundry should definitely be done. And let's see, it's 9:20. So that was another half hour. And that would be another 10 minutes there. If I drop, what would that be? 15 and then 10. And then yeah, I guess that's it. I think that's it for today. Okay, sounds good. So yeah, nice, you know, impromptu stream just because, I don't know, I still have an update video coming some point soon, hopefully, you know. This is not it, but it just felt like streaming and I was just like, well, you know, literally no one's telling me not to. So, you know, like might as well, right? So, yeah, that was kind of fun. All 5 views of some, you know, apparently 5 people came in here and then immediately left. I get it. It's just funny to look at that. I'm surprised I didn't even realize we had 5 viewers in the first place. Anyway, that was fun. Good work, I guess. I don't know. How do I end this? I guess I just click the button. GG.